as I learned today, Dobry Dan, mdevcamp, and today we are talking about how I can port, not port exactly, but extend existing library that you already have for your mobile application, for Android, iOS, and how I can extend this to web. So, first of all, my name is Jackson Mafra. I'm a Brazilian engineer that I'm living in Sweden. I am mobile engineer at Humane. Humane is a digital agency. We develop a bunch of fun products. One of major clients that we have McDonald's, Scania, and a few years ago we talked about how we use it, how we ported the shared logic to McDonald's using KMP. We had this talk in Kotlin Conf. And I like to write about my experiences with mobile, Android in general, pen testing, security. I write a lot of stuff on my LinkedIn and on Medium. So there's a QR code you can scan or you can talk to me. Just add me on LinkedIn and we can share some experiences. So before I start to talk, I want to present what it's about. So we have Stockholm Local Traffic, that is one of the authorities that is responsible in Stockholm for trains, metro, ferries, everything else. And all this data is shared by a national data company that is a Swedish official open source hub called Traffic Lab. And so they have all the information from all other authorities in Sweden. So it's 25 plus authorities that you can have the information of all trains, buses, ferries, everything. And they have the REST API, and they have a real-time using WebSockets and others data flows that you can monitor in real time. So to get all this, it's a bunch of data, and they keep updating and share these. And when you need to implement, even that you are not using just for a mobility app, that you need some locations or you need some information about the traffic, it's hard to consume all these APIs, implementations, and changes. So the idea was, okay, let's transform this in a library, in SDK. And so the idea is, this is open source. For now, I started just with Stockholm, just for the conference, but we are, I can use this, extend this for all other authorities real quick. It's just add a new parameter, and I can consume all other authorities. And in the clients don't need to do any other change. They just consume. And so I can export this library just as, for now, Android, iOS, JVM, Node, and the browser. And I will explain why the browser. So you already had plenty of information about KMP from other talks, how you port, how you can share the business logic between Android and iOS. You cut the time sharing just the business logic. So I don't want to repeat about this. And so I will talk more about the Kotlin JS. So you know that with Kotlin, you can just share the backend part, and so DTTOs, validations, REST abstractions, you can share these with your backend. Also, you can use in mobile plus web, that is the target of this talk, or you can, if you already have your application running, and I want to extend this to the web, but I don't have knowledge about web. I'm a mobile or I'm a backend, I just know Kotlin. So you can port this and you can write, there are some wrappers that will create pure web application for you. And can be just React, or you can use Compose Web. There are many flavors for you to choose. Also, we have WASM for support, or you can export just for the pure JavaScript and use also with Node.js or serverless if you want. So, and one of the questions that when I talk about, okay, let's port to the web. Oh, here we go again. Let's talk about cross-platform. But why you don't use Flutter? Or why you don't use React Native? Because here, the target is not create the UI. I want just to share the logic, and you implement how you want. So the iOS developer will be really, really happy because continues using SwiftUI. Android, we will use Compose. And web, oh, I can use Kotlin, sorry. I can use React, I can use even Angular, or in Svelte, or Vue, or what flavor I want, or even pure.js. I just need to do some imports. So, all the shared logic, networking, repository, caching, all this keeps right once. So you keep this, and you just adding a new target that is not more just Android, iOS, or JVM, if you want. And yeah, when I talk about this, many people remember that recently, they fixed a lot of stuff, but a lot of people still remember that how hard was the memory manager on Kotlin Multiplatform, and now they fixed this, so we don't have more the frozen objects and the Swift interop that will come better 2.4 if I remember correctly from Kotlin Conf. They fixed it, and so there are no more workarounds or shitty code with Objective-C. Jesus Christ. And yeah, and we have these, and you can trust because there's many bigger players using these in production. So Compose Multiplatform or Kotlin Multiplatform, they are more trustable. So we use these on McDonald's, but also Cash App, Netflix, many other companies they are using. Kotlin Multiplatform is stable since 2023, and Google recommends since Google I/O 2024. So it's not something new, and that, okay, maybe we can consider, but it's not stable. It's stable, so trust me, bro. And again, let's just set some stuff that first I need to define why you are creating a library, why this SDK and not just API. So what is API? API is just a contract, and it's a bunch of URLs that you access. And SDK is a wrapper that will get all this and abstract, and you don't have to do this. For example, if you get Stripe or any other payment, you don't access directly, or you shouldn't, in your client, and you don't need to implement, stripe.charges/creating a put. There, you can do this. Yes, you can. You should. No. So it's easier, you go in the client and then stripe.charge create. Easy like this. You don't need to care the headers, if the user missed to put some API key, some limits, or anything else. The messages, the error messages, should be the same. And when the client needs to implement everyone, okay, the Android implemented this, and the iOS, and oh, iOS forgot to implement when there is no internet connection. Or the web needs to implement this because there is this try-catch error. Oh, without connection. So the idea is you create a library, a single source of truth that, okay, I wrap all the URLs. Every client don't need to fetch, parse, and handle the states. Because with this, you will start to create more drift and more bugs. And when you have some changes, you need to do, okay, we migrated the API for V2, V3 APIs, evolve. And I just need to update here, get a new version of my SDK, my library. I don't need to go there and, oh, I need to refactor half of my code base because of this, because I changed the method, and now I have new features to implement that maybe I missed it. The idea for a web here is just get this package. Me as a web developer just need to, okay, npm install, yarn install, and use it. I don't need to learn Kotlin. I don't give whatever for Kotlin. I just keep on web. So here is where the dreams start. So let's understand a bit how it works under the hood. So you have the Kotlin code that you have all the sources, and you have a folder. If you are not familiar with Kotlin Multiplatform, you have a folder called common main that you have all the shared logic, everything that goes for all platforms. But in the case I'm adding web, I just create another folder called JS main that will have the Kotlin JS library and the browser and everything else that I can extend and write my code just for web. So the compiler, the intermediate representative compiler that will, is basically the same compiler that get the Java code and transpile for you, for the Java code for LLVM for the iOS. You do the same for the JavaScript, for the ECMA 2015. And so this will convert all the types, everything that is needed for JS. And in my output, in my package.json, I will have the MGS files, and for TypeScript, I will have the .d.mts that has all the types, all the methods. And so when you import this in your IDE, you just have for free your autocomplete. So you created the same experience that you have in your Kotlin code, you're porting, and you have in there. And so, and this will run in the V8, that it's runtime for JavaScript. And so everywhere that runs JavaScript, you run your code from here to there. So again, if you don't have experience with Kotlin Multiplatform, we have two notations called expect and actual. So in expect, you declare in the main, in the common main, okay, for example, create a HTTP client. And so I just declare, I don't inform the body. And so in each platform, you implement the flavor that you want. For Android, you can use OK HTTP that is really old, or you can use Ktor. For iOS, is the Darwin, that is the URL session under the hood. For JVM is CIO, and for JS is Ktor.js. That is a wrapper for the browser fetch. So you just wrote like this. But let me talky sheep? Let me show. So, for example, I have example of, in this library, all this code that I mentioned for you guys. Here, where's the, okay. I'll give an example. I have here on the common main, I implemented a logger, simple logger. So I have here, I implemented expect, app logger. I have for error, for debug, and for information. Fine, don't have body. And if I go to Android, in Android, I'm actual. And so when I'm building and the compiler gets, okay, the target, this library is the Android one, or is the iOS or JVM or whatever. And it's okay, call this guy. So for Android, we'll get the plain log. But for iOS, I have an slog, and I'm formatting this. For JVM, console.log, and, oh, sorry. For JVM is the print, and for JS, the JS implementation, I have the console.log that came from the library that is the Kotlin JS compiler, and so it injects some Kotlin libraries, the Kotlin base for you. So when you choose the target, you need to implement and define some parameters before. So if your target is the browser, you just add in the ER what parameters you have. And so it runs in any browser or node, and have the Webpack. You choose if you want to use the ES modules to be more compatible with the browser, and also support the 3 shakables. 3 shakables is when the compiler will clean all not used modules. So it cleans the dependencies. Okay, I have a bunch of dependencies that is listed, but for JS, I don't use this and this and this, and so it cleans for you. Generate the types for the TypeScript for user, and so TypeScript developers will be happy, and they're runnable for Webpack. So again, let me show you logger here. As I mentioned, I'll just call this shared in the repo. So a normal project, you have the Kotlin, and so I'm setting the target that it's the Android, the JVM that I didn't take that much attention for this talk, and the JS. So here I'm passing, okay, you just add the browser, or you can remove the browser if it's not important for you. And that's it. Just you added this, and you had this export support for you. So easy peasy, kind of. So I have my whole code base, and everything that I need to expose to the web is just export everything. No. So it's not easy like this. So when you need to export something to port to the JS, you put this annotation, JS export. But there are some components that, for example, StateFlow is not supported yet. When you try to export the StateFlow, that is the for coroutines, and we don't have exactly matching for coroutines flow yet for JS. I was talking with the JavaScript team from JetBrains. The plan is that we will have this support, and we can skip a lot of this JS export, and the compiler process and the publishing process will be fixed in the next version. So we are waiting for this. So for now, in the actual version, I need to set some JS ignore. So I need to ignore that you don't need like StateFlow, some coroutine scopes, or otherwise you generate a bunch of code that you don't need from coroutines, or you access the repositories and many stuff that you just need. Or, for example, for coin, if you are using coin, it will expose a lot of stuff that won't make sense for the web. Let's show the code again. So, for example, I have this view model, and here in this view model, I'm exporting the data classes, and the constructor is just for the dependency injection. And I don't need this, because the coin for JS works different. And so I just export ignore to not make this. And the same for the state flow, as I mentioned. If I try, it will export unused object, and so won't work. And if I export, for example, the coroutines, we'll show some con.kotlin.coroutines.scope. So, and it will be really confusing for them. And if I don't set some export or mark what I need, it will put a lot of libraries that won't be visible in the package. So I will have a bunch of libraries that, okay, the repositories or everything else will be in the package, but when you are in the code completion, you won't access this properly and won't be stable for you. So basically, you hide the machinery, so the repositories, or you just export the view models and the data objects that you need. So, as I mentioned, I have this whole library here that it's exporting, and so under the hood it's connecting in 5 different services from local traffic, and matching the data and synchronize and simplifying for the user. So I have the service running here. I started before the talk, and so the idea here, this service, this Node API that I have here for it's using Express, that it's a web framework for Node. And here, don't have one single fetch. I'm just consuming the application, the package that it's already exported. So this guy here, the server, is this one? Yeah. So this guy here is just doing the import. So I'm getting the library, and the most part, and it's handling the get from there, also from the real time. And so for the sockets, I have a different port, and it's handling all the headers that I just need for the demo. But basically, what I need to do in my client application is handling, okay, if the user is consuming, because there's some fancy API, I'm getting the view model, and I'm consuming from the package, from the API, get the lines view model, get the sites, departures, get stop points, authorities, that's it. There is no single fetch here. All the code is just to consume the API, and I'm exporting the demo. And so, okay, when you access, you have this fancy message here. So if I go to my browser, come on, internet, yeah. So all this data is coming from the local traffic data, and it's just parsed and fixed, and the same for the modules for departures. So I can check now what is the buses or the trains that are leaving a specific station here. I placed one. Okay. Here's the trains and the buses that are departing from a station now. And the same. Just run. So here, come on. Come on. Yeah, timeout. Let's try again. Come on. Okay. Depends the internet connection, but here, this is from the SDK. It's consuming. Okay, I'm having timeout, and so, but it's consuming from there. My client here doesn't know anything, doesn't know what's the URL, doesn't know anything. I'm just logging here because my application emits and returns the logs. So the client doesn't know where it goes or what's the everything else. And now is where we started to use the coroutines, and when the coroutines meets the React. So where we started to live, it's not a dream, it's a real thing. But before, just so you know, when you choose, for example, you are choosing a new target, and you already had your application. This, as I mentioned before, this talk is more for you if you have a red Android application, maybe iOS application, and maybe you are using Kotlin Multiplatform, and you want to expand more your targets. Not just use Android, or not just use Android and iOS, you want to go further. And if you are a web developer, you don't need to know all about this. You just need to go and get your npm install and be happy with your hooks or your fetch. That's it. But before this, before you choose the target, you need to check, okay, I already have in my application that is running, I'm using, for example, room. That is a notation wrapper for SQLite. And okay, I already had this, but room, not yet. Google is a bit slow on this part. Is not yet compatible with JS or WASM, not yet. But we have alternative. So we have SQLite that you can use. It's still in alpha for JS and for WASM. And so you can port this. And migrate from here to here is not that bad, I hope. So before you choose the target, you need to list, okay, what's the dependencies that I have, and what will happen in this migration. So there's this site, klibs.io, that has all the libraries that are supported for Compose Multiplatform, for Kotlin Multiplatform. Then you can check. And for example, also we have my application do some heavy usage of shared preference or playlists for iOS. So under the hood, we have the data store that under the hood for JS, we use our local storage or session storage to persist the data when you have. So it depends what your application is using. So before you add a new target, you need to do some research. Okay, what's the libraries that I need to replace? Or is this library? Or as I mentioned, I can write my own code. Oh, this is not support. It's not supported yet for JS. Write your own code. Like the logger. Oh, there's a bunch of libraries to make the log. But here, I just came and write my log. For me, it was easier than just import and add another dependency. And sometimes you need to get your hands dirty with this. So be careful before you port, but it will be easy. Well, as I mentioned, StateFlow is not yet a JS-friendly. It's planned and to the next version. And so the idea is that your StateFlow just receive a callback. And so here I have kind of a React coroutine that I just need to collect and emit my states. So I don't need my JS target, don't need to know about how it works under the hood, or yet. So in Kotlin, we have the main thread, but how it works on React. So the equivalent that we have for the dispatcher.main, it's called the microtask queue. That is the main thread on iOS. Or so we have the emit in your view scope. You receive like this microtask in V8, and you receive your data in your set state. So you can just consume in your hook or in your React. I'm here talking about React, but you can use any other framework. So, or pure JS. So basically, we have this, as I mentioned, the example of the React hook. So I'm getting this data, and I'm emitting the state that is the bridge that came from my library. And in the contract, just to show another example, yes. Where's my UI state? Here. So this is gaining everything from my code, and here my rook, and getting the data and emitting. But let me show if I have time. So here it's an example of this. It's another demo app. It's application, a pure React application that it's importing the library. So here is just a front end, and I'm having these hooks that is getting the data directly from traffic data. And they don't know anything about how implemented, if it's V1, V2, or whatever the business logic. I'm just consuming that. The only thing that I need to take control, and in the view models, in this case of the view model, for that I use it trip, for example. Here I have a method that it's on clear just to release the job. So when you sign, when you subscribe, you don't keep receiving more data. And here, another example that I was talking, that I normalize it here in this library, that, okay, I can have custom message for the view models, or I can have a generic one for the whole application. But, okay, everyone will have, okay, network, no internet connection for Android, iOS, and web will receive the same message, or when something went really wrong, or when some data is not found. And here on the React, there's this example that I can use. I'm using the clear to control the subscriptions of the data, And so this will avoid that you keep re-rendering. Yeah, it's re-render on React terms, or is our recomposition on Android or on SwiftUI. So we don't keep reloading the data because I have many subscriptions and keep updating the data. So there are some parts that we need to solve before. So we have the same UI or the same data. That was the demo that I showed before for every platform. And here I have this for the web, just pure React. That's just consuming the data. And as I mentioned before, the leak, that I need to control the subscription. I just went ahead from my slides. Okay, and now it's easy, and but I can actually ship it. Kind of, it's almost there. There's some just small polishments that we need to do. That, as I mentioned, I was talking with the JS team, and they promised some fixes. One gap that we have is that to port this, the library get a bundle, 800 kilobytes, that is included in the library, because they inject the Kotlin JS and your dependencies, like if you're using Coin, 800 kilobytes, and gzipped, compressed is 200 kilobytes, something like this. But depends if you compare like the JavaScript SDK from Firebase or from Stripe, that it's almost 1 megabyte, and then compressed it's a bit. They are working to fix this. And when you are exporting, and okay, I did everything I can test, I want to publish my library. I want to publish this package. So actually, there are some fixes, as I mentioned, and so it gets the name of the Gradle task, and so depends the name that you put in your library, we'll get some different name, and it will concatenate. In this case, it gets Stockholm, it not gets like Stockholm transport, it gets Stockholm transport / Stockholm transport. That it's kind of messy. To show you. So, the server, where I package. So, here it creates some messy files. It's, yeah, here from this one of the Gradle, and there's the other that it's keep writing. And there's some normalizations. And so, they recently updated, and so we have also now the a Kotlin DSL for optimize this. But when I wrote this library few months ago, wasn't that easy, and so I have to write a task to normalize and generate properly the package.json. Now it's a bit easier. I will update this later, but let me just fix here. So it was just fixing the name and the version, and adding the types and adding the modules, everything. They are working to improve this, and mainly the publishing, that will be more easier, and so you don't need to write all this, and you have a proper package.json that you can just publish your library, and your client will just, okay, I get this. I just npm install and start to use. So after some updates and some fixes, it will be really easier that I can use on my browser or in my Node application. And, okay, I prepare my SDK. And in this case, if I need to identify who is using my SDK, think like Google Maps or Firebase, Stripe, Klarna, any other, you normally have a token that just identify, okay, generate the token, identify the client, but always try to, identify the client is different than authenticate the user. So don't miss with this. For example, here in the start, where's my API client? Here. Well, when I create my API client, I'm passing on this, and as I mentioned, this is in the main, so it's for all platforms, and I don't need to care. It's just if I have some really specific. But here I just receive even from the WebSockets. It will mainly you handle the WebSockets for our platforms. But I'm receiving here an API, and so in my client application, I have in the local properties the API key, or you pass in your CI, and okay, this goes directly, you export in your pipelines, and just for use in your application. But as I mentioned, if you need to track this, if your library has this purpose, like some Firebase or Stripe thing. As my internet is not properly helping, one demo that I was to show is, okay, let's, for example, let's try. I hope my internet. For example, the API was rewrote, they updated, because here I'm not writing the API, I'm just consuming this. Came from third party. And okay, they ported, now they have the V2. My actual client, or my last client, is broken, and I need to fix. And so the idea is, you just came here, and you fix this, or it's a V2, and I just need to, I will publish without iOS to be faster. And for this demo, for this library, I wrote a repo, and so there is a CLI that help you to run, verify the status, the health of the APIs, everything, help you to build, check if all the builds are working fine, if there's some fail. And also here, when you publish, it updates the URLs for me. So in this case here, I broke the API by propose, and so if I go here, okay, it's broken. They changed something. Go. No, caching. Let's run again. Okay. I hope it's broken. Yeah, it's broken. It's weird you share that it's broken. So I changed it, the API is not working anymore, and so for my application, I just need to go in one place, I change it, I publish. I tear down. And the same was supposed to work in your Android and iOS application. So I'm fixing for all the platforms. I don't need to recode. Oh, they implemented a new module, a new data type, and I just need to publish for everyone. Publish. Go. Refresh. Yeah. So kill it. I'm just rerun, and so it will consume the package that it's published. I hope it's work. Yeah, that's it. it's working fine now. And so I have the new model, or I fixed the bug that was published anyway. So before we conclude and before we close, there's 3 rules that we need to take care when you choose to go to the web. It's export just the behavior, hide everything that you don't need, the repositories, anything else. You just need to export what your web will properly consume. So the coroutine scope is your lifecycle contract in your web application. And the SDK will, you set all the boundaries, everything that needs to run for each platform. So you define here what is the limitations or what can each platform do in just one library, and it's fine. You have full control of this, and you write just once. Yeah, I think that is this. All the links and everything that you need to access this repo library and the documentation. Also, there's I prepared a small landing page also that it's included there. There are more details about how it works under the hood, the libraries, support, about the TypeScript, if the library or the WebSockets change, everything, support for others, libraries, anything else. Here's the QR code, and everything is available for you. And the Kuji is right? The Kui. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We don't have time for the questions, so if you are in the raffles, if you need to go to check if you want some prizes with our partners, you can go. But I think we can ask like 2 or 3 questions before the coffee break.
Okay, hello.
Hello,
nice presentation.
Thank you.
I really enjoy using Kotlin everywhere, and I also did my sort of React integrations. And so my question would be maybe what are like if there are some performance issues with this approach, or maybe even like workflow issues, like using it in your team and.
No, it's the easy part on when you are using exporting directly to JS in this case is that why I didn't mention. Okay, we have the possibility to use, like, I can write React, the Kotlin React wrapper that this and has some performance issues on this because you have a wrapper, but in this case you are exporting and you write just pure JavaScript using the library. And so the only thing that it will increase is your building time because you added a new target. But besides that, in questions of performance, is more how you write the code. And so you need to align basically with the web team. Okay, how you want this and how I do this, and the web team also can support you. Okay, you don't do this, and you prefer to use shared preference. Sorry, session storage than the local storage, and so you align this. And so in this case, you barely have some performance issues because you are just writing pure JavaScript. And so the only catch is the size of the bundle, that you have a library that is huge. And so for a single page, for SPA, it doesn't work. Okay, I have a delivery application. And so we have mobile, and now I want to extend this part of delivery or get the stores or find the driver or the whatever in the web. So I just will create this, export what I need from the library. I don't need to export everything. I will pack this and just import there and we use. And so you will align more with the web team, what is needed to the web.